They're probably not going to show on camera, but there are dragonflies flying all over the place. There are going to be bugs everywhere.
Let's go.
Part two, back like I left my keys. In part one, we talked about basically the planning element of designing your garden. And this from the perspective of me, a beginner. I've spent the last 5 months in my garden building things out, still got a lot to go. But what I figured out was despite all these videos I watched, the basic things weren't touched on from the perspective of a beginner. They were touched on from the perspective of somebody that's already 5, 10 years down the line. So if you're just starting your gardening video, this is the video for you. And let's get into it. Did I say starting your gardening video? I meant starting your gardening journey. Let's get into it. 15, what to plant in your garden. Now, my garden's seen better days. 100-degree weeks, hasn't rained in 3 weeks, so that's why it looks like this. But there's certain things I'm still taking care of because when it comes to figuring out what to plant in your garden, you'll see a bunch of videos. This is what you plant in April, May, June. What you need to plant in your garden is what you'll actually eat. Trust me, as somebody that's had a mini garden on and off for the last 8 years, and I say on and off because I'll plant stuff that I think I should plant, but I don't actually eat. So what happens is I don't care about the items and they end up dying. Here, I like peppers. That's why I spent the money to buy a shade cloth to protect these peppers. But when you make your list of things you want to put in your garden, look at that list and then say, do I actually eat this item? If the answer is no, put a line through it because you won't care about it during these dog days of summer. It'll die. You'll just have wasted your money. Let's talk about the best time to water your plants. Right now, it is like 11 o'clock. It is 95 degrees outside. And most folks say, hey, you shouldn't water your plants because X, Y, and Z. Here's the thing. If your plants need water, you should water them. Now, there are better times than others to water plants. So, like the power rankings go, actually, one, a time you can consistently dedicate to watering your plants. Like the morning is the best, all things equal. But let's say you got to be to work at 6 o'clock. Well, that's time that doesn't actually work for you. But let's say you get home from work every day at 6. You kind of sit in your garden. That's your moment of tranquility. That's the time every day you should water your plants at 6 p.m. when you get home from work. And so, and also, man, if your plants need water, they need water. Having said all that, the power rankings go in the morning, like half an hour to an hour before sunrise to about 2 hours after that. Then the evening, maybe like 2, 3 hours before sundown. Folks will say you shouldn't water in the evening because plants will get fungus in them. Okay, the mushrooms will grow, and so what? It's not a big deal. That's just the biology in the dirt popping up essentially. They're not going to kill the plants. And then three is whenever you need to, right? As long as you're watering your plants consistently, they're good to go. Now, you may be wondering why I have these large stakes next to the plant, or maybe you didn't even notice it, but it's part to making sure you're properly watering your plants to help them survive is to make sure they're getting the proper amount of shade. This is a lemon tree. That's a mandarin tree. But anyways, they're supposed to be able to survive hot climates. But this in a pot, and also, like I said, these don't naturally grow here in Texas, right? They're not bred in order to survive 100-degree days for 3 weeks in a row. They're not bred to survive sitting in a pot. And so that's why I have these shade cloths in order to put on top of them to give them some relief from the sun. I'll put up a picture, but some of the leaves are basically getting scorched by the sun. So I have this shade to put on top of them in order to provide them some shade, right? Give them some relief from the sun, cool down the temperature of on the leaves, cool down the temperature on the soil. I mean, I got a hat. Why not have my plants get a hat, right? And actually, this wasn't part of the original list, so that's why I keep losing track of the numbers. It's important to know what plants require what fertilizer. So these citrus plants, they require a lot of nitrogen. So you want to get a heavy nitrogen type of fertilizer. What I use for this is something called fish emulsion. I'll put down a picture on how to identify what the components are of the fertilizer. But basically, it's a NPK, nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium. I forget what the pK is. So this is what I'm talking about when I talk about the NPK ratio. So on all fertilizers, you'll see this number, NPK. And so the N is for nitrogen, the P is for phosphorus, and the K is for potassium. And basically the phosphorus, the P on all for all plants besides your citrus plants. It provides thick green leaves and helps the stems as well. And I have this stuff written down because it's not super important to memorize it, because for a citrus plant, you want to get some fish emulsion or high nitrogen. For every other plant, you want to just get the basic vegetable and flower stuff. You'll see super specific stuff like, oh, this for roses, this for that. You can get that if you want to be way in the weeds, but honestly, it doesn't matter. The phosphorus is for the roots and the flowers which produce fruit on your normal plants, non-citrus, and then the potassium is for the plant's health and to fight diseases. It keeps the leaves strong. The sugar is at a certain ratio in the plant, which prevents bugs from being able to chomp and bite in them. Next, you want to pay attention to how big these plants actually get at maturity, because you don't want to grow this great plant, spend 2, 3 years while it grows, and then next thing you know is that these plants are all stepping over each other, and then you got to either remove one plant, kill the other plant, or something like this. So this plant, for example, was eh, about this size when I first bought it. It was actually a rescue plant, which we'll talk about rescue plants later in the video as well. But it gets like 4 to 6 feet wide. Yeah, 4 to 6 feet wide and like 4 to 6 feet tall. So eventually it'll be like touching this plant, which is why this is in the pot, so I can move it if need be, and it'll get over there as well. But also important, I know the sun stops like right here as well, and so may have to do a little bit trimming over here. Sometimes I think it's cool to have plants kind of hang over the edging as well, but make sure you know how big these plants get at maturity when you're planting them. Year one, please focus on perennials. That's what'll set off your garden, because these plants come back every year and they get bigger and stronger every single year. It's a lot better to spend 10, 15, $20 on a perennial that flowers like this bad boy right here. Let's see if we can peel back the onion on it real quick. It's in rehab. Probably can't see it. I'll put a picture of it right there, and watch it grow over the years than to spend 15, 20, 30, $40 on a bunch of annuals flowers because they look cool, but you have to buy them every year and you're back to square zero every single year. But these bad boys will fill out your garden, and once again, the future you will thank you 3, 4 years from now when this bush is this big and it has hundreds of flowers on it, and the hummingbirds and the pollinators are popping. Buy your showcase piece last. You've probably put together a list of all the things you love in one of your garden, and you have like there's probably like one or two things where it's like, man, I want that, and your inclination may be to go out and buy it right away. But buying it last helps you fill out the other things in your garden. One, two, during this process, you may find some other things that you like a little bit more, but don't tell the other plants. But this is my favorite plant in the garden. I love y'all too, of course. Yeah. This is the last thing I bought in the garden, and actually, it's not even in the place I want it right now. But I can't wait to watch this bad boy grow and eventually become the centerpiece when I put it in the place I talked about in part one. Repetition. You want to repeat things in your garden. It gives it a little bit of cohesiveness. As I mentioned earlier, these two plants, they're not the same, but they look pretty similar. So there's some cohesiveness to this design in my garden. Um, Most of the plants that I've got, like the perennials and so forth, they are yellow flowering. Like that Jessamine plant that you just saw that was in rehab, that has yellow flowers. I have a vine on my kind of barrier right there. It has yellow flowers. I have a sign with yellow flowers. I have a sunflower, which is yellow. You want to focus on repetition in your garden when it comes to plants, and as well as the pots in your yard as well. It just makes it cohesive and looks planned. You can have a beautifully thought out garden, but if all the pots are different colors, it looks like everything was just kind of thrown together. But that color scheme will lead to, and repetition will lead to cohesiveness in your yard. I mean, garden, yard. But the aforementioned yellow sign. But if you're focused on the yellow grass and not that sign, it's understandable, because every gardener, every environment, every zone is going to have some point where I call it the Jada kiss. We gonna make it right. They're just gonna become a point where the sun's too hot, you can't water enough, and your garden is just gonna be bad for a little bit. You just gotta stick with it. It hits every single gardener. Professional gardeners are going to put a lot more money into making sure things are maintained. You're probably not a professional. You're doing this for the love and your why. But depending where you're at, it's going to be 1 month 2 months, maybe 6 weeks, 8 weeks, out of the whole 52 weeks in the year. You just got to kind of stick through it at that point and realize everybody's going through the same struggle. Make sure you're taking care of the plants and stuff you love, and just make sure you're maintaining the stuff in your yard at least enough to bounce back once it hits a little bit later in the year. So I'm dealing with it. We're all dealing with it. We're going to make it. Still in the same spot. Make sure you're taking before and after pics because you want to make sure that you can actually see the progress, right? If you've ever worked out and you maybe, put on some muscle or lost some weight, what really hits is when someone else tells you because you see yourself every day, you don't realize the progress. It's the same thing with your garden. You see your garden every day, you're not going to realize the progress. And so make sure you're taking pics. So even during these down times where it looks like things aren't going well, you can go back and look at those pictures from February, March and say, hey, this plant's grown a foot. This bush has grown immensely. Um, and so you can go back and appreciate the progress you've made while we're kind of down bad in these times like this. Embrace the bugs. They're probably not going to show on camera, but there are dragonflies flying all over the place. There are going to be bugs everywhere. There are going to be birds that eat your tomatoes, right? Embrace them. It's part of a healthy ecosystem in your garden. These dragonflies, they eat bad bugs. Birds, they may eat a tomato or two, but they also eat grubs and things that are growing in your garden. Like in this area over here, I see birds all the time. I mean, there's a bird bath, but under there, the birds are always in this area um, picking up stuff. So like this cardboard I put down to kind of mulch the area is always up in the air. And then I was like, where's this coming from? What's digging this up? Then it dawned on me, the birds are digging it up because they're going and eating grubs and potentially bad items in the garden. But embrace the environment in your yard. Obviously, you want to get rid of the bad bugs, but the more you embrace the environment, the more these healthy bugs will get the bad guys. And it just is what it is, man. The bugs are going to be out there. You're in their environment. Go in the house if you want to be afraid of the bugs. Please understand that plants tire in the heat just like you. So this fig tree right here, the leaves they're getting a little bit charred. They curl up a little bit. That's well, the char is them dying because they don't have too much sun and not enough water. But you'll see these leaves kind of curl up during the day. It's okay. It's the plant protecting itself from the hot sun. But plants will tire. Plants will die, unfortunately, as well. But that's just part of the process. You want to do what you can to keep them alive. However, you don't need to overdo it. But just realize plants will die in your garden. It's okay. It's a lesson learned. Now, I need to do a better job of this as well, but you need to think about what your garden will look like during the fall, during the winter. If you just have a bunch of plants that flower and grow leaves during the summer, during the fall, it's just going to look like a graveyard, a cemetery, a wasteland. So do some planting on plants that actually keep their leaves and their colors during the fall. Obviously, we know evergreens. This is an olive tree. It keeps its leaves essentially year round. That was just kind of by accident, but make sure you have a plan for the entire year in your garden. Maybe 28, maybe 29. Don't be afraid to move a plant. This plant is actually the elder statesman in my garden. This is the first plant I ever bought. I bought it like 9 years ago. I even remember where I bought it in the nursery. It's a goji plant. It was a very small, kind of like twig of a plant, and it has been almost everywhere in my garden. It's been here right now for maybe about 2 months because I had moved it to a place because I didn't focus on the sun that was no longer getting sun, and so it was not fruiting. This plant needs like 6 to 8 hours of sun a day. It gets it right here. It started to kind of bounce back. You can see some flowers on it right now, but it was here at one point. It started off in that barrel right there, but that barrel was actually over there and it was getting full sun. I had moved it when I redesigned my garden. It wasn't getting enough sun. Actually, it was actually under this tree. My dumb face, for some reason, thought it could get 6 hours of sun under that tree, or I thought maybe it could still fruit without that full 6 hours. So remember, if you don't like where something's at, it's not getting the proper sun. It takes a little effort, but you can just dig it up and move it. Let's talk about sales and buying plants on the low. This was $12. It was half off. This was a rescue plant, $12 half off. That was rescue as well. This was 40% off. This plant over there was I think 50% off. This great pot I got back there was only $40. That pot is probably like $150 if you buy it like in a nursery or Home Depot. Got it off Facebook Marketplace. This was 75% off. And I can go on and on in my garden. I built probably 80% of my garden just buying plants and pots on discount. And I'm able to do that because I'm patient. I know I'm in this for the long haul. And so places you can find great deals are, to me, of all the box stores, Lowe's. They always have this clearance section. For whatever reason, Home Depot does not have a clearance section for their plants. But what happens is when plants start flowering, when they stop flowering, because folks want to buy plants with flowers, the key is to buy plants that are just about to flower, so you can put them in the ground and then experience the flower. When you buy plants that are already flowered, they may experience like transplant shock when you put them in the ground. They get scared and then the leaves fall off of it, and then it looks like a rescue plant, which you can just buy the rescue plant for typically like half off, 75% off, depending where you're at. But definitely check out Lowe's clearance space. And another thing to me, Facebook Marketplace. Like I got that pot on Facebook Marketplace for $40. I could not believe it. That thing is big and it is heavy. Like I said, that's easy $150 in most places. And also like your local nursery. A lot of times if it's a big nursery, in the back section, they'll have the plants that have gone on sale. And typically, like especially at a nursery, the plants are in great shape. The only issue is that they're like out of season or they've stopped flowering at a certain point. For instance, like this plant, I got this like 75% off. And the only issue with the plant was that it had stopped flowering. I think it was a lot bigger, but they had basically just cut it down, cut off the flowers. And I just started to actually water this plant as I was trying to figure out where I was going to put it. And it actually started to flower in the pot as I was watering it. So I was like, oh, let me kind of put it in the ground to see what kind of roots it can establish for this year. And then next year, it can, crawl and then it can bulb. Weeds, weeds. Hold up. Weeds. These weeds were here before you. They're going to be here after you, right? Actually, let me not throw the weed back in the ground so it can establish roots, but it's just something you have to do. There's not a way to eliminate them all. You can put down garden fabric. I have garden fabric down right here. You can put down cardboard and kind of mulch it to prevent weeds, but life is going to find a way. Just make sure you have a consistent schedule. Maybe when you come out to the garden, you pick one or two weeds a day. You have a dedicated day in the week which you pick weeds, because what happens I think with a lot of folks is they don't pick weeds. Then you look down, 3, 4, 5 weeks later, your garden bed is a mess, and folks just kind of give up on the weeds at that point. It's like, oh, the weeds have taken over, and then it becomes a further mess. Or you try to get into the garden, you want to spray the weeds with chemicals and pesticides, which may kill the weeds temporarily. They're coming back, but you kill maybe the other healthy biology in the ecosystem. So just make sure you're putting together a consistent schedule to weed the plants, because they're going to be here. It just is what it is. Got to live with it. And actually, on that note, I'm gonna jump ahead. Let's talk about garden fabric or weed barrier. You'll see a lot of posts if you look online about how people are like, weed barrier is the devil, this and that. Weed barrier is fine, right? It has a place just like everything has a place. This is a walkway. I put down weed barrier because I don't want things growing in the walkway. I'm not planting potatoes in the walkway. I'm not planting tomatoes. I'm not planting anything in this walkway. And I've had this weed barrier down here for about 7, 8 years. And guess what? Just like anything, as I mentioned earlier, weeds are going to pop through here and there. So you see kind of these green things right here. These are this is a bush basically I put in I put down on the ground to basically, in theory, kind of suffocate some of the weeds that are growing up on the outskirts of the barrier. But weed fabric is fine. If you're planning to like plant stuff, you probably want to put down like mulch, or not mulch, but you want to put down cardboard and mulch on top of that so that the cardboard can kill the grass, and it creates just a better environment on the ground as the cardboard breaks down. Like this is a place where I decided to put down uh, cardboard that you saw previously instead of weedberry, because I want to eventually plant more things in this ground right here. And honestly, the cardboard is actually done pretty well. Like I said, life's going to find a way. Here's some grass that has popped out from under the cardboard, but there you go. Next, just realize some items are toxic. It'll say that on the label of the plant, but if you have like dogs that bite everything or kids that bite everything, realize that some items in your garden will be toxic if they eat them. And so you may not want to put them in there in the garden, no matter how pretty they look. And next thing we're going to talk about is unstaking trees as fast as possible. So right here, back to one of my showcase items is, I'm not sure how old this tree is, but you can see the trunk is very thin relative to the height of the tree. And that's because I got it from the nursery and they want to keep the plants straight. Actually, the stake made the plant a little bit crooked. And so it doesn't get as strong with the stake on. So like think about working out, like you build muscle by tearing muscles. And so the plants build their trunk and their roots by stress, a little bit of stress on them, right? It wavers back and forth. That makes the trunk stronger. It makes the root stronger as well because it got to prevent the plant from going back and forth because it wants to survive. That's why you need to take these stakes off these trees as soon as possible. It makes them stronger in the long run, in the short run. Long form YouTube videos like you're watching right now and Reddit are a great source of information. I focus on the long term videos because you can know nothing and put together a 30-second reel, TikTok, or I forget what it's called on YouTube, ironically, and get views because you're cute or doing something real fast, or maybe it's just AI slop. The long form videos are what you want to focus on there. And Reddit to me is a great source of information, depending on, like the gardening threads and so forth, because Reddit is new to me. I found out about, I was aware of it, but I started using it basically about February of this year. But it's the best answer wins. Like you ask a question, folks that know what they're talking about will answer. Some that don't know what they're talking about will answer as well. But the best comments get upvoted. So you'll see comments with like, 50, 15, 90, depending how popular your thread is, upvotes. And those most likely are the best answers because a bunch of folks are co-signing. But you also still want to do your due diligence and verify what was said in that thread as well. Because by verifying it, you learn a little bit more. Next, you want to always just keep a little bit of dirt on hand. No matter how full your pots are, you'll just find out the more you water it, the more the dent or the dirt will compact in the pot, and all of a sudden, a pot that was full to the brim um, will be low. Like the roots will be sticking out. So always just keep a little bit of dirt on hand. Not necessarily in a pot. I had to repot this maple tree uh, over there. That's why there's some dirt in this pot. But always keep a little bit of dirt on hand. Learn how to turn your plants into more plants. See this plant right here. Hopefully you can see it. The sun's killing my eyes. I can't see what I'm pointing at on the screen. But I took, or parts of that plant fell off when I was planting it. And so I'm making more of that plant right there. I'll show you in the, what's it called, I think, in the porch as well. Also, like you can cut plants in half and split them and kind of do what you want with them. Like this rosemary plant right here, it was just a straight ball, but I cut it in half, split it so it could wrap around this this thing right here and eventually cover that. This actually fell off during the cutting, and so I propagated that plant as well. And so just quick propagating. You can look it up on YouTube. I don't think I have a video up there at this. Well, I know I don't. I don't know if I'll even make a video, or I will make a video at some point because I'm doing some propagating right now. But so you remember that that kind of yellow neon thing was lemon sedum. Some pieces fell off, and so I put this in some water for about 2 weeks till it started to grow roots. And now I put it in the dirt so it can establish more roots in the dirt. And then eventually, once it's established, I will take this out and then put it in the ground. So that's free plants. Free plants. We did it. Appreciate you sticking around for the whole video. If there was a topic you really liked, drop a comment down in the comment section as far as the topic or the number, and I'll expand on it. I'm about to pull off a Thanos and sit down and watch the sun rise on a grateful YouTube universe. But I do have one special thing for you. Why couldn't the flower ride his bike during the winter? Because all his petals had fallen off. Let me show my way out. Remember though, none of this matters if you don't execute. Begin, and let's grow.